I was calmly watching an iguana just swimming through the lake, and I just had insight into evolutionary theory. That's the iguana's body is just a relic of the past. It's a relic. It's energy that is being transmuted into information that just grows as a sphere around it, so that it can recognize its environment, and its environment can recognize it, and it can truly live in homeostasis. So that's how the identity is projected down, because there was iguanas of all sizes back when the environment could support them, but the environment couldn't support them. They all died off. That's what evolution is. The bigger version of your own species dies off because the environment can't support it. Like, as long as the environment can support species of that size, there will be a biome for that species. There's going to be all sorts. There was a giraffe with a short neck alongside a giraffe with a long neck, alongside all sorts of necks of giraffes. It's like, that's what a species is. A species is evolutionary potential for a specific sort of biome body type. It's a biosynthetic relationship with the environment. The environment will produce chemicals to support the environment. As long as the environment can be replicated, that organism will have access to that environment, and that's basically how a species forms out of nothingness. That's basically what alchemists were trying to, when they divided matter into organic and inorganic matter. That's what they were talking about. It's because there's some elements that are so intelligent that you could section them off for the relatively unintelligent elements, and you could subjugate those unintelligent elements. That's why your bones are made of the same calcium that you can find in rocks. Calcium has a potential to transfer information about the universe. It has a potential energy that is locked into place, that's just locked into the reactivity of calcium. So all of the rest of the universe understands what calcium is. And so organic parts of the universe can replicate calcium or replenish the calcium by intaking proteins from the environment. And that's basically what eating is. Like, these iguanas that live in this lake, they live near crocodiles, and crocodiles have existed for millions of years, if not billions of years, on different planets, because that's what I think all animals are. All animals live on every planet, but as a potential expression of that animal. If there's no materials to form that animal's just not going to spawn. But they just spawn right out of water, really. That's like, you can never find the mother gator that birthed all the gators in a community. You'll never find that. But there exists a potential grandmother gator that is the sort of species cap. When you're talking about a species, you usually differentiate it between its body type and its ability to mate with others of its kind. But generally speaking, everything on Earth can mate with each other. We all have genetic material that we can just recombine. It's just a matter of whether or not that forms a viable offspring. In some cases, it forms offspring that can form their own species. Like, if you corrected what made mules infertile, you could rear a foal. I was reading about that earlier. Like, the cross species of a hybrid and a donkey, a mule, is generally infertile, but some people have made them fertile. Like, enough experiments, it's all information. Genetic information is just information, and it can be read, and it reads itself. So all organisms understand themselves. They understand their species as a collective unit of that expression. When gators communicate, they're communicating on a frequency that iguanas must be able to understand for iguanas to exist in that community with the gators. The iguanas must know what it sounds like when a gator bellows, because a gator is dangerous to an iguana. It has to know. These are fundamental truths that species do. They know how to exist in their environment, just with the other species in the environment. That's why a baby human will identify with you. But if it grows up around dogs, it's going to identify with dogs. It's going to think it's a dog. It knows how to communicate with dogs. It knows how to communicate in dog thought. When we talk about thought, we're communicating in a language with ourselves. That's what a thought is. It's a communication of a language with yourself. When you're saying that I am a human, you're identifying yourself with the human species as it relates to itself and to you. You understand how the human species species relates as a collective, but you don't necessarily understand how it relates to you because you're identifying with a human. That's what people talk about when they say that they don't feel completely human like otherkin. That's what people talk about when they say that they're aliens. That's what people are talking about. They're feeling this general disconnect from their own species because they represent an entirely new species. You represent an entirely new species. That's what everyone represents. That's what an individual is. An individual is a unit that is a collective species cap. Like when I was talking about Mother Gator, that's what I'm talking about. Every species can produce a society of itself. That's what it means to have eggs. Eggs are a society of yourselves. You're just using your own genetic material to reproduce versions of yourself that are going to mate with other versions of yourself. That's basically what gametes are. That's what all of the information is trying to communicate with me. And I just get into these moods where I just like want to talk with everyone about these discoveries. Like this is like, I want this to be the book. The podcast is my life. The book is my life. I'm always writing about evolutionary theory. I'm always writing about with respect to non-localized intelligence, because when we talk about intelligence, intelligence is non-local. It's internal and external. Like I'll get into it more, but I'm gonna hang out with my friend.